Hey everybody. I was lucky enough to get an advanced copy of a forthcoming book, Slaying the Dragon, the Secret History, or A Secret History of Dungeons & Dragons by Ben Riggs, and I thought I'd do a quick little review for you today on Greyhawk Grognard. So, in the interests of transparency, I was provided an advanced reader's copy of the book by the publisher. They were kind enough to send that to me, and that is what I'm basing this this review on. This is another book that gives some of the history of Dungeons and Dragons. There have been many such books over the years. The one that sets the standard is, of course, Playing at the World, which is just enormous tome with tons of footnotes and everything, and that is the yardstick against which all such books are measured. But there's a whole little cottage industry of books about the history of D&D, and this is the latest one. It is not a bad book at all. What makes this book unique is that it is based on a bunch of interviews that the author did with some of the old TSR alumni, the people who were actually there on the ground at the time. I'm not aware of any other book that is based so completely on that sort of interview material. And so when this says it's a secret history of Dungeons and Dragons, that's a reference to these are anecdotes that are coming from people who were there and might not have ever been given before. So in that respect, it does have that to offer. Overall, I am very pleased with the book. It did teach me a bunch of things that I was unaware of about that history, despite having read every book on the subject that's come out. And overall, I would recommend the book. Let me just quickly. I want to go through the old table of contents here. They've got the Rise and Fall of Gary Gygax, which goes for the first 64 pages. Then we get the Williams era, which goes on for another 80 or 90 pages. Then we've got more stuff about that, and then we've got a little bit about the Wizards era. And that is another takeaway about this book. It is very, the cats are just, yikes. It emphasizes the Lorraine Williams era of TSR. It spends most of its pages, as far as I can tell, I haven't done an exact count, but as far as I can tell, most of the page count is spent on that era. And as such, that makes this a little unique because most of the other books that I've read on the subject kind of only mention that era of the company TSR in passing. Obviously, as I say, Playing at the World is an exception to a lot of these things that I'm going to say because it is so comprehensive and unique. But that's another thing that will get that you'll get out of this book that you won't find in a lot of the others, is that it does pay such attention, especially from the first-hand accounts of that Lorraine Williams era. So in that respect, again, this is something that will give you information you're not going to find in a lot of other places. So on that count, it's definitely worth getting. Now, that having been said, there are some things about this book I did not, in fact, like. It's a little jumpy. It kind of assumes you have a certain level of knowledge, and it just kind of works off of that. Characters that are introduced in the book are just kind of name dropped without any introduction, like Ernie. Gary Gygax's son, Ernie Gygax, is just mentioned offhandedly without any explanation of who he is. And I think when he's first mentioned, he's not even given a last name. It's just Ernie does that. It would have been nice to have a little intro as to who he is and why he's in the book. And the book does seem to have a bit of a chip on its shoulder when it comes to Gary Gygax. for example, he talks about, where is it? Flint. He's talking about when Gygax was out in California. It was Flint Dill saw it all. Gary's $1,500 blue jeans, Playboy models in the jacuzzi. He goes out of his way to give negative information about Gygax without kind of giving the positive. I came away with a very negative view of Gygax from what's in the book, and there's even a certain level of name calling throughout the book. He refers to Gary Gygax as Saint Gary in a very snide and condescending kind of way, and that really turned me off when he did that. On the other hand, Lorraine, who is, let us say, generally among the old school community has a bad reputation, is really held up as a wonderful person. She's held up as somebody who's, she saved the company. She was trying to save it. She was trying to save D&D. There are some negative things that mentioned about her abrasiveness and her management style being very cutthroat and so forth. But that's always tempered with, oh, but she was such a nice person. She would feel for the people. She treated them like family. It was when he's talking about Lorraine, you tend to get those positives to offset the negatives. When he's talking about Gary, you never seem to get those. It's just really weird in that respect, and I don't know if it's because of the people that he was interviewing that had a more positive view of Lorraine Williams rather than Gary Gygax. I tend to think not, given the old school people that are in here, it was, like I say, that sort of turns me off, that sort of editorializing within the book. That said, however, those negatives, you can look around, you can look beyond, they're not deal breakers in my opinion. I learned stuff about the history of TSR that I didn't know, especially in the Lorraine Williams era. And there is one other thing that kind of turned me off on this book. There are no footnotes. There are, there's no sourcing of any quotes or any facts or anything like that. We don't know, when the interviews took place. We don't know when he's quoting from a newspaper article or a magazine. We don't know where that's really from. And I would have found that really helpful in a couple of places in the book. So, on that score, I'd give that another downvote on that basis. But on the whole, honestly, I think it's worth getting. There's stuff in here that I found out that I had never heard before, I was unaware of. Like I say, it does come from a unique perspective. These are anecdotal accounts for the most part. It's not like Playing at the World where, everything is meticulously footnoted and sourced and all that stuff. So you are getting it from an inherently biased source, or a bunch of biased sources, because everybody looks at everything from their own point of view, but that is not a negative in my opinion. That is you're getting a different facet of the story. Hence, again, the secret history of Dungeons and Dragons. So on the whole, I recommend it. Please go out and get yourself a copy. I will put a link to the book in the description below. And just a reminder that for all my videos, members of the Patreon get to see them 2 weeks before the rest of the world. So if you want to get to see these things early, please head on over to the Patreon. You can sign up at any level of support, and you will get access to those. And at higher levels, you'll get a whole bunch of other stuff. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this quick view and my opinion on Slaying the Dragon. And have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.